They don't just reward the goal, they reward the effort. And so their pursuit toward their goal, thinking they're on the right track, actually releases more dopamine than when they reach the goal. Now that raises the question, how do you attach dopamine to the effort process? Holy Man Club, welcome back to a new video. In response to my latest Holy Man newsletter to you, you asked me if I could make this video about setting goals, taking control over your life. So it's unplanned, but here we are. And it's good. It's good that you tell me what you need and what videos you want me to make. So keep those emails and comments going. I love that interaction with you. If this is your first time here with us, you can comment below, first timer here, and I can extend a proper and more personal welcome to you because I want you to feel appreciated here. We are all about learning to live as holy men. And you watching this video shows me that you want to take responsibility for your life. So you may subscribe and join us. If you think about life is full with all kinds of forces that are seeking to control some parts in your life, whether it's your time, your eyeballs, your thoughts. And it's easy for us to just kind of go along with it, make the best of the situation that we find ourselves in. But I love this quote from my favorite Christian author. And you should write this down, get this mindset in your head. Men can shape circumstances, but circumstances should not be allowed to shape the man. We should seize upon circumstances as instruments by which to work. We are to master them, but should not permit them to master us. That is powerful. This motivated me to stop flowing with the currents of my circumstances and instead actively take control over my life, decide the direction that I want to go in, make a plan how to get there, and take responsibility for my life. So I want to share with you today how I'm working on doing that in my life with setting goals. I'll let you in on my own thoughts and my own process. I'm actually right now in the middle of setting new goals as soon we're about to start the new year. So I'm setting goals for where I want to be in 6 months. And before I've set goals over a time period of a year as well as 3 months. But for one, I felt that it was a bit too long and the other too short. So we'll see how it goes now with 6 months. So I'm thinking, where do I want to be in half a year? And then I'm breaking that down in 6 specific areas of life: family, personal development, relationships, spiritual, finance and admin, and work. And for each of these categories, I'm setting 3 goals. Now, of course, you can add categories or break up, for example, personal development into specifically body, mind, and skills or whatever. But I think it's good to keep in mind to not overwhelm yourself with too many categories and goals because it's easy to lose focus. You want to be able to have an overview and keep track of everything. That's why maybe also you find 3 goals too much for each category. That's fine. Do 2 or even 1. At least I think it's important to cover all the areas so you can grow holistically, the whole you, and not just in 1 or 2 areas. So what goals do I want to have achieved in 6 months from now? What kind of man do I want to be in half a year? You understand that this is not something that you just want to rush into because it's going to set the direction of your life for the next 6 months. So I pray a lot during this time, really wanting to seek God's infinite wisdom. I want my heart to beat in harmony with His, for my vision to align with His. So I contemplate on Jesus' life, on His example, His word. I think back of different Christian literature that I've read about these topics. And I've noticed that then I come to certain practical ideas for goals and primarily based on 2 kind of angles. Let's say the fixed angle and the ideal angle. The fixed angle is basically me looking at my life and observing, is there a problem that needs fixing? Is there something that's broken or missing that should be there? Something I'm failing in, something I'm convicted about or have neglected? Where am I behind and need to catch up to function properly? For me, that was, for example, to have 1 hour of devotional time every day because I wasn't consistent with it. Or to reply to all incoming messages within 3 days because I was often behind. And the ideal angle, on the other hand, is not driven by problem, but opportunity. So what is a higher standard in this area that I want to take hold of? It's working all right, but how can I go above and beyond? How can I take a next step toward excellence? I, for example, learned about something called a commonplace book. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's something that will help you to become more articulate. Now, I'm planning to set this as a goal to make so I can take my communication skills to a higher level. Another example could be to read 3 books to broaden your knowledge and intellect. So this is how I kind of get to what kind of goals I want to set. But then I need to formulate them right, because else they don't work. What do I mean? If I wrote as a goal, be a better husband, well, 6 months later, am I? There's nothing I can measure by whether I achieve my goal or not. It's a vague, unachievable goal that I cannot complete, because I can always become better. I want to formulate my goal to be specific and include something I can measure. And not anything that you can measure, but something that's based on my efforts, on my decisions, what is under my control. For example, if I would have as a goal to get promoted at work, it's specific. I can easily see whether I achieved it or not, but it's out of my control. No matter what I do, I'm dependent on someone else who doesn't necessarily share my goal. So instead, my goals should be focused on my work performance, which may lead to a job promotion. Like, for example, leave my house in time, take a course in my free time to develop skills that will make me better at my job. Those are within my control. So make your goals measurable and base them on what you can control. And the last tip to set good goals is to make it realistic, but push it a little bit. Don't get crazy and aim for starting a 20 million euro business in the next 6 months. Set a goal that you can actually achieve if you push for it, if you stretch yourself. There's nothing motivating about working toward a goal that is way out of reach. The finish line is so far, you wonder if you're even in the right race, or to have it so close to where you are that it's not even challenging you. So once I have my goals measurable, within my control, realistic, it's time for the most important step, because having a target is one thing, but getting there is something else. If I don't know how to get there, guess what? I won't get there. And then having set goals will actually backfire, because all I'll see is a list of goals that I've never achieved. So what I do is I think out a path to each goal, and I set up signposts along the way that show that I'm on the right track. Now there's 2 reasons for why you don't want to skip this process, because one, it increases your chances to actually reach your goal. Of course, from a logical point of view, when you know the path, it's easier to travel on it towards your destination. Say, for example, that goal of having read 3 books by the end of 6 months, it's measurable, it's in my control, it's realistic, but how much do I need to read each day so I can actually achieve it? How many chapters or pages? I want to reply to all the incoming messages within 3 days. What's the path for me to get there? Do I block a certain time slot for it every other day? Is there a structure I can set up to have all apps in one place and it's quick to get an overview of all my messages? What are steps on the way that I can take that lead me forward? But there's even a physiological aspect to why you want to pay attention to the path and not just the goal. I recently learned something about dopamine. Dopamine, you've probably heard of it. It's the hormone in your body that we typically associate with reaching a goal or someone liking your social media post. You win a game, dopamine releases in your brain, you feel great. But dopamine is not just a reward hormone, it's a motivator that propels you forward. It enhances your ability to concentrate. It gives you energy to keep going and not give up. That's why high performers, people who are successful on a consistent base, who don't just have a peak and then have an emotional meltdown and are depressed and then have a comeback, no, people who are stable and steady on an upward trajectory, they have learned to attach dopamine to the effort process. They don't just reward the goal, they reward the effort. And so their pursuit toward their goal, thinking they're on the right track, actually releases more dopamine than when they reach the goal. Now that raises the question, how do you attach dopamine to the effort process? Well, it's interesting that dopamine is subjectively controlled, meaning we can learn to produce dopamine in the brain in response to how we choose to interpret things. For example, you go through the most intense part of your path towards your goal. You're working out and it's burning. You have a serious conversation with your wife. A chapter in the book you're reading uses a lot of hard words that you need to look up. That's when you need to tell yourself, this is the good part. I'm putting in max effort. I'm really challenged. This is what's going to make me grow. You choose to make the hardest part of your growth enjoyable. And the Bible actually talks about this long before science caught up with it. And I'm quoting James here. He says, My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. You can choose to interpret these moments, max effort, you're pushed to the limits, as enjoyable. And that will actually then release dopamine that gives you then the energy and focus you need to actually keep going. And this principle of being able to release dopamine in your brain based on your interpretation is also why I said think of signposts along the path to your goal. What are signs that you can interpret that you're heading in the right direction, which then releases dopamine that keeps you going? Replying within 3 days, for example, how do I know that I'm on the right track? Well, every time when I look at my calendar and I see the same time slots blocked out every other day, that's a good sign. Or that the number in the little red bubble on my apps doesn't get higher than 10 anymore, another good sign. Or the 3 books example. What is a sign that I'm on the right track there? Well, I bought the book and I can hold it. That's a good sign. I brought it with me on my way to work, or I'm ahead of my reading plan. Those are all signs that help me to acknowledge and reward the efforts in my pursuit of my goal. So rewarding and focusing on the process will help you reach your goals. But more than that, often the value of the process can be even greater than the actual achievements of your goal, because it's in the process where you learn skills, you develop your mind, you build habits, you refine your character, and that will be able to take you a lot further than your goal. They'll set you up to reach your next goals and beyond. So after having set the goals and mapped out the path to each of them, and then translating it into my daily schedule, blocking a time slot for reading, setting a bedtime so I can get up in time for my devotions, scheduling in some outdoor activity in the morning to get fresh air. I'm shaping every day of the week in such a way that it facilitates me being able to go in the direction that I want to go in. Structures, routines, and order, they're your friends. They can help you a great deal, and our bodies and mind function a lot better and faster in that way. And finally, I'm blocking a time every month for reflection on my goals and the process. How are things going? Is there something I need to change? Is there someone I need to ask for help for? Is there something that's going different than I anticipated? This is how I take back control over my life, by being intentional about the direction that I'm going in, how I'm spending my time, taking responsibility for my choices. And to make all of this work, let me share this quote with you from Proverbs. Commit your works to the Lord, and your thoughts will be established. Holy man, stay focused.